The night my brother screamed at me in my own kitchen because I wouldn't hand over my credit card. That's the night something inside me finally snapped. Wow, Rachel. After everything Mom did for you, you can't even spot us $2,000? His voice echoed off the cabinets, sharp and loud enough that my downstairs neighbor banged on the ceiling. It was 11:47 p.m. I had a 9 a.m. client presentation the next morning, my laptop open on the counter, slides half finished. My eyes burned from staring at spreadsheets all day. I'd already worked a 10-hour shift, answered Slack messages through dinner, and rescheduled my therapy appointment because my mom needed me more. Dylan stood there in his old college hoodie, one hand on the fridge, the other gesturing wildly like he was the wronged one. His girlfriend Jenna sat at my tiny dining table, scrolling on her phone, pretending not to listen but absolutely listening. In the living room, my mom coughed theatrically on the couch, wrapped in a blanket I'd bought her last Christmas, the TV light flickering over her face. "I'm not a bank, Dylan," I said, my voice shaking. "You're 2 months behind on rent because you won't keep a job for more than 5 minutes. That's not my emergency to solve." He scoffed. "You think you're better than us now? Just because you have some tech job and a 1-bedroom in Austin?" I opened my mouth, then closed it again. I'd heard this script so many times I could recite it in my sleep. I'm selfish. I'm ungrateful. I think I'm better. Mom sacrificed everything. I owe them. Behind my ribs, something hot and tired twisted. I looked at my open laptop, the Slack pings, my half-eaten cold pasta, my mom on my couch, my grown brother demanding my credit card, and it hit me with almost physical force. I was the responsible one, the strong one, the one everyone called when life exploded, but no one ever showed up for me. That night, with my heart pounding and my career hanging by a thread, I realized something brutal and clear. If I didn't walk out of this role my family had cast me in, it was going to swallow me whole. My name is Rachel Morgan. I'm 36 years old. I live in Austin, Texas, and this is the story of how my family used my kindness like a credit card with no limit, and how I finally cut them off before they overdrafted my life. To understand how I got there, overworked, exhausted, with my entire family camped out in my 700-square-foot apartment, you have to know where I came from. I grew up in a small town outside Dallas. My dad left when I was 10. He packed 2 suitcases and walked out one humid June afternoon, leaving a note on the kitchen table and an unpaid light bill on the counter. By that night, the power was off. By the end of the month, the car was gone too. My mom, Linda, slept for days, then woke up angry at the world and never really stopped. She took double shifts at a diner, chain-smoked on the porch, and told anyone who'd listen that my father had ruined her life. Somewhere in there, I became the adult. At 12, I was the one making sure Dylan, 3 years younger, had clean clothes and something like dinner, even if it was just microwaved mac and cheese. At 13, I was the one hiding the eviction notices so he wouldn't freak out. At 14, I got my first job at the grocery store, bagging other people's food so we could buy our own. "You're my rock, Rach," Mom would say, handing me crumpled bills and expecting me to magically turn them into a month's worth of groceries and gas. "I don't know what we'd do without you." It sounded like love. It felt like a trap. When college acceptance letters came, there was no question. I wasn't going to leave my family. That would make me selfish, ungrateful. So I chose the closest state school with the best financial aid, worked 3 part-time jobs, and still sent money home. My classmates worried about midterms and crushes. I worried about whether the electricity was on back at home and if Dylan had gone to school. Fast forward 15 years. I'd done it. I'd gotten out, in the way people from small towns talk about getting out. I'd moved to Austin, clawed my way into a project manager role at a mid-sized software company, paid off most of my student loans, and landed myself a small but bright one-bedroom apartment with a balcony that faced a line of scraggly trees and a view of the highway. From the outside, I looked like I was winning. Inside, my phone never stopped buzzing. "Hey, honey, can you just pay this one bill? I'll pay you back next month, I promise." "Rach, my car got towed. I just need a couple hundred. I swear I'll Venmo you Friday." "Could we crash at your place just for a few days until we figure stuff out?" A few days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. Mom's back started acting up, and she stopped working. Dylan lost another job, this time at a car wash, because his boss was on a power trip. I kept saying yes, because I was the one who had made it, because I could work remotely, because family sticks together, because somewhere in my chest, that responsible little girl still believed that if I just helped enough, fixed enough, saved them enough times, I could finally rest. For a while, I told myself this was temporary. Sure, my rent had essentially doubled once Mom and Dylan moved in. I bought groceries for 3 adults, paid the energy bill that jumped every time Mom decided she needed the AC at 68, and upgraded the Wi-Fi because Dylan couldn't job hunt on slow internet. Meanwhile, my job was quietly eating me alive. My company loved the idea of work-life balance as a slogan, not as an actual practice. I got promoted to senior project manager, which really meant more responsibility, same pay, more 9 p.m. Slack messages. "Hey, Rachel, quick question about sprint capacity tomorrow." "Rachel, can you jump on a call with the client? It's the only time that works for them." "Rachel, you're so reliable. Mind picking up this extra project?" Reliable. That word again. The same word my family used. I was everyone's safety net, at work and at home. My days started at 7:30 a.m. Make coffee, check Slack, answer emails. At 9 a.m., stand-up meeting, camera on, smile in place. By noon, I'd realize I hadn't eaten. By 3 p.m., I'd be reworking timelines because a developer missed a deadline. By 6 p.m., I'd desperately try to close my laptop while someone messaged, "Just one more thing." Then I'd step into the hallway of my own apartment and immediately be hit with my second shift. "Rachel, we're out of Diet Coke!" "Hey, did you ever pay the phone bill? My service got cut off again." "What's for dinner?" I would look at my grown brother sitting on my couch, controller in his hand, half-finished resume open on his laptop, and feel this flash of rage. And then the guilt would wash it away. They're trying. They've had hard lives. You're the stable one. You can handle it. But the handling it got bigger and uglier. One night, I found out Mom had given my address to a debt collector. I came home to a letter about a maxed-out credit card I didn't recognize. When I asked her, she waved it away. "Oh, that! I put the electric bill on a card for a couple months. They needed an address, so I used yours. It's no big deal. They'll work with us." Us. Except my name wasn't on that account. "What happens when they send this to collections?" I asked. "At my address, attached to my name." She sighed like I was being dramatic. "You worry too much. You're always so negative, Rachel. I thought you wanted to help." The worst part? A little voice inside me said, "If you were a better daughter, you'd just suck it up and pay it." The demands didn't stop at money. Dylan started using my car while he figured things out. I'd wake up and the keys were gone, my gas tank empty. Once, he forgot to pick me up from the mechanic, and I had to Uber to an important client meeting, logging in from the back seat while pretending everything was fine. Mom started booking my time like I was her personal assistant. "I have a doctor's appointment Thursday at 10. You can drive me, right? Just move your meetings. They'll understand." "I need to go to the Social Security office. Those forms are confusing, and you're good with paperwork." "Can you call the pharmacy? I don't like talking to them." Every yes cost me something. Sleep, PTO, boundaries, sanity. But every time I tried to say no, it turned into emotional warfare. "You'd rather go to a work meeting than take your mother to the doctor? Wow, now that you have your big job, you don't have time for family? If your father had stuck around, maybe I wouldn't have to ask you for help. But he didn't, so it's you and me, kid." I wasn't a kid anymore, but the guilt still landed like I was. The pressure built slowly, like water rising inside a locked car. You don't notice at first. Then one day, you realize you can't breathe. The night before a huge quarterly presentation, my body gave up before my brain did. I'd been up since 5 a.m., finishing slide decks that my VP had revised 3 times. Dylan had taken my car and not come back yet. Mom had misplaced my debit card after using it at H-E-B. I was sitting on the floor of my bedroom, surrounded by laundry I hadn't folded in 2 weeks, my laptop propped on a laundry basket, when my chest got tight. Not metaphorically tight. Physically, terrifyingly tight. My heart started racing. My hands went numb. The room tilted, then shrank, then exploded into a tunnel of white noise. I thought I was dying. I somehow crawled to my phone and dialed 911. By the time the paramedics showed up, I was shaking and sobbing on the floor, trying to explain that I couldn't breathe. They checked my vitals. "Your heart looks okay," one of them said kindly. "It might be a panic attack." A panic attack? I'd had anxiety before. I'd had stressful days, but nothing like this. This felt like my entire body was screaming what I refused to say out loud. I can't do this anymore. At the ER, after they ruled out a heart attack, the doctor asked, "Are you under a lot of stress?" I almost laughed. I wanted to tell him everything. About the job that owned my waking hours. About the mom who treated me like a partner, therapist, and financial planner. About the brother who saw me as an ATM with a spare couch. About the constant, relentless sense that if I stopped moving for 5 seconds, everything, my family, my career, my whole life, would crash. Instead, I just said, "Yeah, a bit." As they discharged me with a printout about panic attacks and self-care, the nurse looked me in the eye and said, "Stress like this doesn't just go away by itself. Something has to change." Back at the apartment, it was past midnight. Mom was asleep on the couch with Netflix still playing. Dylan was not home. There was a sink full of dishes. My laptop pinged with 3 new emails labeled urgent. I stood there, hospital bracelet still on my wrist, my chest aching, and I knew no one was going to save me from this life I'd built. No one was coming to be my rock. If anything was going to change, I'd have to be the one who changed it. And I would have to do it knowing my family would hate me for it. My decision wasn't cinematic. There was no dramatic lightning strike or perfect song playing in the background. It happened on a Tuesday morning in the most boring way possible. I was on a Zoom call, half listening to a product owner, when Mom texted, "We need you to co-sign on a loan." A second later, "Just a small one, for a car. Dylan found a great deal." And right underneath that, as if she could feel my hesitation through the phone, "Don't overthink it. You know we'd do it for you." I stared at those messages, the ER wristband still on my desk, and something inside me finally shifted. I clicked mute on my call. I turned off my camera, and I whispered, out loud, just to myself, "No." My voice shook. Tears flooded my eyes. It felt like betraying my own DNA. But then I said it again. "No." I closed my eyes and pictured my future 5 years from now if I kept saying yes. I'd still be in this apartment, or a slightly bigger one they convinced me to rent for all of us. I'd still be bailing Dylan out of late rent and overdue tickets. I'd still be paying mystery medical bills and co-signing loans that tanked my credit. I'd still be having panic attacks on my bedroom floor. I saw myself at 41, 43, 45, still the responsible one, still carrying grown adults on my back. And I felt this cold wash of terror. I loved my family, but if loving them meant slowly erasing myself, what was that love worth? That afternoon, I made a list. Call therapist back. Actually go this time. Pull free credit report. Open new bank account in my name only. Look up codependency and parentification, the word my friend once mentioned. Talk to HR about PTO. Look for a lawyer who does free consultations around debt and co-signing. It looked like a to-do list, but it was really an escape plan. When my therapist, Dr. Harris, asked why I'd finally come back after canceling so many times, I surprised myself by answering honestly. "Because I'm tired of being the strong one," I said. "I'm tired of being everyone's emergency contact and nobody's first choice." She nodded gently and asked the question that would become a turning point for me. What would it look like if you believed your needs mattered as much as theirs? At first, my brain rejected the premise. My needs? Equal to my mother's? To my brother's? That felt wrong, dangerous, disloyal. But the more we talked, the more a different truth rose up. No one had ever taught me that my needs mattered. I had learned that I was only valuable when I was useful, helpful, selfless. Dr. Harris called it parentification and enmeshment and a bunch of other words that made my chest hurt and my life make sense. "You were a child forced into an adult role," she said, "and you never got to step out of it. Until now." So I made a decision. I would step out of that role. I would stop co-signing my own destruction. I would start treating myself like someone worth protecting. And I accepted something even scarier. If I set boundaries, my family might never forgive me. They might call me selfish, cold, heartless. I had to decide what hurt more. Losing their approval, or losing myself. I chose me. My plan wasn't glamorous. It was messy, emotional, and full of shaky conversations where my voice wobbled and my hands shook. Step 1, separate my finances. I opened a new checking account at a different bank and had my paycheck rerouted there. The old account, the one Mom had my debit card for, got just enough each month to cover rent and utilities until I figured out the next steps. I canceled the joint phone plan I had stupidly added Dylan to, just for a few months. I paid the termination fee, blocked the inevitable guilt texts about it, and slept for 10 hours straight for the first time in months. Step 2. Say the word I'd been afraid to say. No. No, I'm not co-signing a loan. No, you cannot list my address for your credit cards. No, you cannot take my car without asking. No, I can't drive you to every appointment. You'll need to use the bus or ask someone else. The first time I said no out loud, Mom stared at me like I'd slapped her. "What is going on with you, Rachel?" she demanded, voice rising. "You've never been like this. You sound just like your father." That cut deep. She knew it would. "I'm setting boundaries," I said, my hands shaking so hard I had to tuck them under my thighs. "I can't keep fixing everything. I'm exhausted. I had a panic attack last week. I went to the ER." She frowned, but I watched it happen, the shift from concern to accusation. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. "You know how that would worry me. You're so selfish sometimes, keeping things to yourself." I almost laughed. I was selfish? For not telling her about a medical emergency while I was also accused of being selfish for not paying for Dylan's car. You can't win a game where the rules keep changing. Step 3. Give them a deadline. One Sunday morning, I sat Mom and Dylan down at the dining table, the same table where bills had piled up, where arguments about money had exploded, where I'd eaten hurried dinners between Zoom calls. "I need you both to listen all the way through before you respond," I said. Mom rolled her eyes. Dylan smirked, but they stayed seated. "I love you both," I began, "but this living situation isn't working. For my health, my job, and my sanity, I need you to find other arrangements. I will help with first month's rent and deposit somewhere within reason. After that, you're on your own." Mom's mouth dropped open. Dylan's chair scraped against the floor. "You're kicking your own family out?" Mom's voice cracked. "After everything I did for you?" I swallowed. "I'm not kicking you out. I'm giving you a deadline. 60 days. I'm willing to help you get set up, but you can't live here anymore. I can't keep doing this." Dylan slammed his hand on the table. "You know I'm looking for work. It's just bad timing." "Dylan," I said quietly, "you've been looking for work for a year." They yelled. They accused. They brought up every sacrifice, every diaper changed, every school pickup. "You wouldn't even have this life if it weren't for me," Mom shouted, tears in her eyes. "I gave up everything, and this is how you repay me?" I cried too. I shook. I almost took it all back. But then I pictured myself on that ER floor, gasping for air. "I am grateful for what you did," I said through tears. "But that doesn't mean I have to destroy myself to prove it." Step 4. Get support that wasn't them. I told my closest friend, Naomi, what was happening. She listened, horrified, then said words I didn't know I needed. "Rach, this is not normal. I'm proud of you for saying no." She checked in weekly. She helped me practice what to say to my mom so I didn't cave as easily. She invited me over for dinner just to get me out of my own apartment. I told Dr. Harris about the 60-day plan. She helped me prepare for the backlash, reminded me over and over that someone being angry about your boundary doesn't mean the boundary is wrong. I even talked to HR and took 2 actual PTO days, not working from home while sick, but genuine days off to go to appointments, rest, and move my own life forward instead of everyone else's. Step 5. prepare for the storm, because there was a storm. Mom called relatives, telling them how cold I'd become. They texted, of course, without asking for my side. "How could you do this to your mother? Family is all we have. She's getting older. Don't you feel bad?" But something had changed in me. The guilt still hurt, but it no longer felt like proof that I was wrong. It felt like what it was, a symptom of years of being conditioned to believe my worth was measured in what I could give. The 60 days were awful. There were slammed doors, silent treatments, cold shoulders. There were guilt trips so intense they could have their own airline. Once, I came home to find Mom had gone through my mail by accident. Another time, Dylan borrowed my car without asking and came back with a parking ticket he forgot to tell me about. But there were small wins. I slept through the night more often. I woke up some mornings without my heart racing. I took a walk around Lady Bird Lake on a Saturday and realized I couldn't remember the last time I'd done something just because I wanted to. At work, I started using a word I'd previously reserved only for difficult people. No. No, I can't stay on for a 7 p.m. meeting tonight. I have a hard stop at 5:30. No, I won't be checking Slack on Saturdays. If it's urgent, call the on-call engineer. No, I can't take on this extra project without dropping something else. Shockingly, the world did not end. My boss adjusted. The developers survived. One of them even messaged me privately. "Honestly, thanks for pushing back. You're the only one who seems willing to say no, and it gives the rest of us permission too." At home, the deadline crept closer. Mom applied for subsidized senior housing, something I'd begged her to consider for years. She got angry about the paperwork, but she did it. Dylan picked up a job at a warehouse. He complained constantly, but he went. Because suddenly, me helping wasn't an option. On day 58, they moved out. It was not a Hallmark moment. Mom refused to hug me, just said, "You'll regret this someday." Dylan muttered, "Don't come crying to us when your perfect job dumps you." I helped carry boxes down to the Uber they'd ordered. I handed Mom an envelope with the money I'd promised for their deposit. "Take care of yourself," I said, voice low. She looked at me for a long second, something like hurt, rage, and fear swirling in her eyes, and then she turned away. When the door finally shut behind them, the silence was so loud it hurt. I leaned against it, slid down to the floor, and sobbed. Not just for them, for me. For the girl who had spent 26 years believing her value was measured in how much she could carry for other people. The next morning, I woke up in a quiet apartment. No TV droning in the background, no cabinet doors slamming, no one asking, "Hey, can you?" Just me, just my breathing, just the distant hum of cars on I-35. I made coffee in my own kitchen and sat at my own table and realized, for the first time in my adult life, I didn't have to brace myself before walking out of my bedroom. The karma didn't look like some dramatic punishment for them. It looked like natural consequences. With my money no longer cushioning them, they had to figure things out. With my time no longer available on demand, they had to call other people. And with their chaos no longer filling every corner of my life, I finally had room to ask, what do I want? It's been a little over a year since that night in my kitchen when Dylan demanded my credit card and I realized I was done. A year since the 60-day deadline. A year since the boxes, the slammed door, the accusations. Here's what my life looks like now. I still work at the same company, but my job feels different because I show up differently. I don't answer Slack after 6 p.m. I take my PTO. When my boss tries to pile on just one more thing, I ask, what should we deprioritize, instead of silently absorbing it? Funny thing, they respect me more now. Apparently, people-pleasing didn't make me valuable. It made me invisible. My panic attacks? I haven't had one in 10 months. I still get anxious. I still have hard days. But I also have tools now. Breathing exercises, therapy, a yoga class I go to twice a week. Not because it will make me better or more productive, but because I like how my body feels afterward. My apartment feels like mine. There are plants on the windowsill that I remember to water. A bookshelf with novels I actually read instead of scrolling my phone until midnight. A quiet Sunday morning where the biggest decision is whether I want pancakes or eggs. I talk to my mom sometimes. The conversations are short and they stay within the boundaries I set. If she starts to guilt trip me or ask for money, I say, I can't talk about that, and end the call if I have to. She's still angry sometimes, still plays the victim card, but she's also surviving, without me managing every detail. Dylan and I text occasionally. He has kept his warehouse job longer than any other job he's had. He doesn't love it. He wishes things were different, but he's showing up for a paycheck, for his own life. They're not magically fixed. They're not suddenly self-aware and apologizing for years of taking me for granted. But they're no longer living on top of me, emotionally or physically. Their choices are no longer my bill to pay. Most importantly, I'm no longer living like an extra in my own life. If you're reading this and you're that woman, the one everyone calls when they mess up, the one who works late and still cooks for everyone, the one whose phone never stops buzzing with requests, the one who can't remember the last time someone asked, "What about you?" and actually meant it, I want you to hear me. Your exhaustion is not a personality flaw. It's a symptom of carrying way more than one person is meant to carry. Your resentment doesn't make you a bad daughter, sister, wife, or mom. It's your soul telling you something is off. You don't have to wait for a panic attack on your bedroom floor or an ER visit at 2 a.m. to earn the right to say, I can't keep doing this. You are allowed to set boundaries with people you love. You are allowed to disappoint others in order to stop betraying yourself. You are allowed to stop being the emergency exit for adults who refuse to use the front door. Does it hurt? Yes. Will some people call you selfish? Probably. Especially the ones who benefit from you having no limits. But here's what they won't tell you. The moment you start treating your own time, energy, and sanity as valuable, the people who truly love you will adjust. The ones who only loved your usefulness will fall away or rage against your limits. That's not proof you're doing something wrong. That's proof you finally stopped playing a rigged game. My life didn't turn into a movie after I set boundaries. The dishes still pile up sometimes. I still have deadlines and crappy days and moments when I stare at my phone and almost send a "fine, I'll help" text. But then I remember the girl at 12 years old, paying bills she didn't create. The woman at 35, gasping for air on the bedroom floor. The wristband. The ER nurse saying, something has to change. And I choose myself again. I'm not the strong one anymore because I can carry everyone. I'm strong because I finally put some of that strength toward myself. If you see yourself in my story, the overworked, underappreciated woman holding everyone else's life together with your bare hands, let this be your sign. You are not selfish for wanting rest. You are not ungrateful for wanting a life that is yours. You are not cruel for saying, "No, I can't do that for you." You are a whole person, not a backup plan, not a safety net, not an endless resource. Family isn't just blood. Family is the people who don't ask you to bleed out to prove your love. I used to think my job was to save everyone around me. Now I know my real job is to save myself and build a life where I don't need saving all the time. And if someone wants to walk beside me in that life, they can bring their own umbrella when it rains.